I want to zoom out and look at the big picture, hearing God speak. And we have a great text for that this morning from 1 Samuel, but I've titled the sermon, "The Word of the Lord was rare in those days," and that's straight from our text. And you should be wondering what that means about now. And there's a great line in this text. One of the things I like to do with the kids is some call and response. I say something, they say something back, it makes me feel really good when they get it right. And so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to say, "Hear the word of the Lord." You are going to say, "Speak, Lord, your servants are listening." Do you guys think you can do that? "Speak, Lord, your servants are listening." And then I'll read the text. Hear the word of the Lord.
"Speak, Lord, your servants are listening."
All right, the boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. One night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called to Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." But Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. Again the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel a third time, and Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at other times, "Samuel, Samuel!" Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." And God spoke to him. We jump down to verse 19. The Lord was with Samuel. And that's Christmas right there, man. That's just like sunrise. Emmanuel, God with us. The Lord was with Samuel. The Lord is also with us. And this is a time when we're remembering that during Advent and Christmas. The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. That's a great text. I love this text. And the first thing I love is that it says the word of the Lord was rare in those days. We don't always get acknowledgement that we don't hear God speaking. And here it is. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. I think sometimes we feel like the word of the Lord is rare in these days because we haven't heard God speak to us in a long time. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. And then I love Samuel. Samuel has not heard the word of the Lord before. He doesn't know the Lord. He doesn't know what to listen for. God speaks to him and he doesn't know who's speaking to him because he's never heard it before. He doesn't know what to expect. And Eli, he's probably heard God speak to him back in the day. Eli's old now. He's been a priest his whole life. He's been serving in the temple every day. He's like at church every day for years and years, his whole life. But he's not expecting God to speak. He's not expecting God to speak to Samuel. When God speaks to Samuel, he doesn't know what to tell him. He thinks that Samuel's just like a crazy little boy. And so Eli, he doesn't have the right expectations. We need to if we want to hear God speak, we have to have the right expectations. We have to expect that God's going to speak. And I remember clearly. First time God spoke to me. I was 16 years old, gang! 16! At Bible camp, and I was reading Matthew. I've never really read the Bible before, and I was reading it, God spoke to me. And I knew that I needed to go into ministry and share those words. And so God speaks to you when you're young, even younger than 16. Now, Eli's interesting, because you'd expect God to speak to Eli. Eli is well trained. He's the priest. He's heard God before. You'd expect God to come back to him. But he doesn't. He goes to the little boy who is untrained, who's never heard him speak, who doesn't even know him. And he gives Samuel a message that he can't keep for himself. He has to speak to others. In fact, he gives him a message for Eli, which isn't a good message. He gives Samuel a message that Eli and his family are going to get judged because Eli has failed to pass on faith to his kids, and his kids have fallen off the deep end, and God's going to bring judgment on them so that they don't become priests as well. And Samuel passes on that message. Now, if we're coming to God with the expectation that he will speak, we will hear. Now, this is one picture of what it might look like to hear from God. But I want to explore several of these pictures this morning from different places in the Bible. And so, let's jump forward. I'm going to read to you from Psalms, from Psalm 119. And we don't know who wrote this. It's just some anonymous person wrote this psalm. But listen to this. I think it's astounding that anybody would say these things. You should be expecting something. Oh, how I love your law. I meditate on it all day long. Your commands make me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me, ever with me. I have more insight than all my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes. I have more understanding than the elders, for I obey your precepts. I have kept my feet from every evil path, so that I might obey your word. I have not departed from your laws, for you yourself have taught me. He's saying, I've been reading the scriptures, but you yourself, God, have been speaking to me and teaching me. How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Now, maybe you know what he's talking about when he says, I love your words, oh God. They're sweeter than honey, to my mouth. Maybe you know what that's about. But maybe not. And if you don't, what I'm not going to say is, you should feel this way when you read the Bible. It's okay if you don't. We don't need to read the Bible out of obligation, but out of inspiration. You should be I just want to hold that text up to you and say, this is a possibility for you. This could be your life with God. You love it. It's sweeter than honey. It's possible for you. Not just this psalmist who wrote this text. It's possible for you. For all of us. Now, the third story I want to explore was the story of Job. And, if you are familiar with the story of Job, you're probably familiar with the fact that Job, it's like all about the problem of evil. Is God really fair? Is God just? Does God love us? Is he paying any attention to us? You kind of know that part of the story. So this is how it goes. Job is a righteous man. And he's like the best man in the whole world. And he's so good that Satan thinks, oh, this will be great if I can bring him down, and that will really be a slap in the face to God. So he goes up, gets God's permission to just bring down the hammer on Job. So Job's been really blessed, so Satan takes away his wealth. He kills all of his 12 children. And then he takes away his health. And it doesn't get much worse than that. Job loses everything. And then for the whole book, like 35 chapters, it's Job and his friends talking about how can this happen to a righteous man? And here's the thing I want to focus in on, though. Job is kind of at his spiritual peak at the beginning of this book. You know, Job is the guy, or the woman who they've been serving God faithfully their whole lives, but they've reached a plateau. It's okay, you know, things are going well, but he doesn't see, you know, he can't imagine that there's anything else to this life of his with God. And the whole book, Job is just he's like, I'm a righteous man, friends. God can't do this to me. God, come, you know, answer me. Defend yourself. I'm a righteous man. You can't do this to me. You're not being fair. He totally believes he's in the right. And then, finally, at the end of the book, God does come and answer him. And